the process of psychological evaluation and medical evaluation and hormone therapy. So for the last 3 years, I've been watching this transformation. The first thing that came out was joy, happiness. So happy I didn't know this person. Finally, this is the real person. I said, why do you look so uncomfortable when you come in to meet me in a restaurant? Because I'm not who I look like, and I feel like I'm in the wrong body. And now that's all changed. Co-chair of PFLAG, that would never have happened. Family members have not been terribly accepting. I've lost a few very dear old friends. That's their problem. Maybe they'll come around, maybe they won't. I joined PFLAG to find out, what is this? What is this all about? Why couldn't you just be gay? You've had problems all your life. Wouldn't it be just easier to be gay? And of course they explained to me that that's not what it's about. It's a whole different subject. So now I am teaching my daughter how to do her hair. She borrows my clothes. The most important thing I would like to say is, if only we had known in 1st or 2nd grade. I live in Alameda. There are children in Alameda in the elementary schools that are now presenting as little girls. Thank goodness they're not going to be subjected to the misery and the heartache. Catherine's going to be 48 years old. 45 of those years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Think about it. Thank you. Thank you, Gregory.
I'm going to use it this way, okay?
Okay.
Let's see if it works. My name is Gregory Rienzo, and I live in Haywood. By birth, I'm Irish and Italian and Catholic. I grew up in New York City on Long Island, and I have 6 siblings. I'm confident that my mother's sister, who was the bridesmaid at her wedding, was lesbian. I also have a cousin that I believe, Miriam Mangan. She was the nurse, medical person in the family of many, many cousins. And I'm confident that she was lesbian. Of my 34 nieces and nephews from my 6 siblings, 2 are lesbians that we know. Both are in long-term relationships. Both couples have formed families, and both couples have adopted 2 beautiful children. In a previous life, I was a Catholic missionary priest in Peru, and my wife was a nun. We have been married 40 years and have 1 daughter, our joy, Jenny, who came out to us 2 years ago. My wife and I always knew that she was searching. But it was 2 years ago that she told us, and we heard her, and we've been relieved and happy for her. I'm a member of PFLAG, Oakland Berkeley Group, and in recent years since Jenny came out, and has made friends with Anna, her partner, I've learned a lot and I've read a lot, and I believe that the churches, starting with my Holy Roman Catholic Church, we have a lot to learn and a lot to undo. And I'm going to yield the balance of my time to Jenny and Anna, as they say in the House of Representatives. But with this simple quote, that the good news of Jesus is for all people, that each person is a child of God, deserving of respect and dignity, and that there are no gradations within God's family. All are his sons and daughters. Okay, there.
And I came out 8 years ago when I was 26, so it's pretty late in the game, I think. But I always knew I was gay. I actually didn't know what to call it. When I was younger and I was in elementary school, high school, I always knew I was different. But I never knew anybody who was gay, so I didn't know what was going on. So it took a very long time for me to come out. I grew up Catholic. My parents from Mexico, very old-fashioned, traditional, so I didn't know how to tell them. And I struggled for a very long time until I was 26, and I remember it took me I had to find a church where they taught me that being gay was okay, and it took a lot of searching, because I'm originally from Texas, but when I was living in LA, that's where I finally found a church where people were open and accepting, and that's when I finally got the courage to approach my parents. And so I remember, I was telling Jenny, it was the hardest day of my life. Till this day, it's still the hardest, it's been the hardest day of my life. I planned it probably for a year. I bought a ticket to fly home to tell my parents. And I bought the ticket because I knew I couldn't back out. So it took a lot to cancel the flight and do that. So I bought a flight, flew home, and I remember on the plane and just praying and telling God that, if this plane had to go down, I was okay. It was probably going to be easier than having to face my parents. But, we got there safely, and I had to figure out how to tell my parents. And I had this little story, and I wrote it out, exactly what I was going to say. Because I was going to plan it. I was telling my mom and my dad together, but when I got home from the airport, only my mom was there. So that threw my whole plan out the door, and I couldn't figure out how to tell them. But eventually, both my parents showed up, and it was like a Band-Aid, just ripped it off and told them, and both my parents just broke down crying. And it was actually very hard for a couple of years after that. My parents struggled with it, asking why. My parents telling me to go to psychologists, and it took them a very long time to accept me. And I actually pulled away from them. I didn't go home for a year once, because it was just easier not to talk about it, and so it was just easier to stay away. And so, to this day, I regret because I think about that time, all those days, all those holidays that I missed, because we just couldn't reconcile it. But just to cut the story short, my parents came around, and I think a lot of it was when they met Jenny, when she flew home with me to meet my parents and my brothers. And I think what did it was they actually saw a person, not just a label of lesbian. They actually saw her, and met her, and they talked to her, and they realized what a wonderful person she is, and how happy she has made me. And I think just that whole picture, and seeing us, and be able to touch us, and actually see the people behind that label, it really changed, because my parents, very devout Catholics and old-fashioned, it was just, you don't believe how hard it's been. But I just kind of wrap it up. I just want to tell you all, just be open and be accepting, because for me, it was very hard having to explain myself all the time to people, and having to explain my sexuality, because I'm very private, and having to share that part, or having to explain it, it's very hard. So it's been great to be in the Bay Area now, where it seems like everybody's a little bit more open. You go to work and you see gay people everywhere, and just okay to be gay, and it's changed my life. It's made life a lot easier when you don't have to worry about your environment that much. It just makes life a lot easier.
My name is Jenny Ranzo. This is my dad, and this is my partner, and my best friend is in the audience. That's Jeannie. We've known each other since we were 12. I'm a middle school administrator in my other life, and I'm out to almost all of my staff. Anyone who's paying attention on my staff, I'm out to anyone who's paying attention on my staff. And I'm actually out to